Good morning. So I'm off to work, and one thing that I wanted to talk about is how in a lot of things that are done in life, obviously to be good at something you've got to continuously do it, learn it, repeat, do it over and over and over again. That whole 10,000 hour piece, which became popular from Malcolm Gladwell, but was published I think back in like 91 or 93 by a couple of researchers on how people basically ingrain skills, knowledge, those pieces into themselves. But what I wanted to say, so in engineering, and it's kind of interesting, so we're not taught growing up like engineering. Yeah, we might be taught critical thinking and some of those skills, but we're not taught like how electricity works or thermodynamics or any of those pieces. And maybe some high schools now teach that. I obviously did not learn that in high school. It wasn't until I went to college that I was exposed to those pieces. Obviously, like the thermo and those pieces I don't use anymore as an electrical engineer. And even a lot of the electrical engineering courses that I took, I didn't use, and I don't use today. There's maybe 3 classes that I took that apply directly to what I do today. So that goes to the whole repetition piece. But what we also, or I see in the industry a lot, is that we're not conscious and or don't look at necessarily how to do things better. There's a big disconnect between costs and design. So yeah, we design things that we as engineers, architects think are cheaper, but not necessarily always looking at the cost. And I think there's a lot of pieces and places where we can work together with contractors to actually see what costs less in hours, maybe not material costs, but what I'm finding and seeing is that the material cost is, while it is a portion of the work, it's typically not the most expensive portion of the work. The labor is often much more expensive than the material costs. If it takes somebody that's making $80 an hour as an electrician, it takes them 15 minutes to do it, well, that's $20. So, and you just kind of extrapolate from there. So we need to look at costs, but also just in the material pieces. So like if we think of lighting, where I touched on this the other day, if we look at lighting and we look at like the reflectances and work together as a team to improve the reflectances of those surfaces within the room, whether that's the ceiling, the walls, the furniture, the carpet, all that. If we look at the reflective properties of those pieces, maybe we can reduce our lighting counts. So then not only are we reducing material costs, but we're also reducing labor costs, because now they don't have to install as many light fixtures, and we still get the same result, right? A well-lit space that performs well for the occupants. So those are things that a little more thought and engineering should go into to help save owners some money. So some of those pieces, like maybe you're having a lighting vendor help you with calculations. Well, as great as they are, they're still in the business of selling lights, so they're not gonna look at these small little pieces that can make a big difference in the layouts. So it's thinking outside the box, and ultimately in the owner's best interest. But then again, like, it's not necessarily in the architect or engineer's best interest, because we're getting paid a percentage of construction, right? So if it's a $1 million build out or $100 million build out, we're getting anywhere from 6 to 8% of the construction is paid in our fees and then divvied up among the disciplines. So really it's in our interest to have more expensive buildings because we get paid more, right? But and the same with the construction manager, they get a percentage on any change orders or add to the contract, so they get their 5% markup on each of those pieces, so there's a lot of not in the best interest, even though it's supposed to be, and we think that we're doing things in the best interest of the owner. I'm sure that the contractors think that they're doing things in their best interest and things that they are justified for them to get paid for. So I want to try to think of it in a different way and really present results that are adjacent to any contracts. So not doing it in the scope of a project, but to come up with designs and ideas and ways to save money relevant of any project. So to look at lighting design, to look at receptacles and how those can be placed, or the type of receptacle that you want to install and what that cost savings might look like, how to what pieces and specifications really cost money or not, on whether that's in panel boards, light fixtures, fire alarm devices, really all those pieces that we might not be thinking thoroughly about or through, to end up really saving the owner money, but also those costs do have to be picked up by the electrical contractor. So sometimes they're bidding a job like they normally would, with the same types of installation, the same type of materials, all those pieces, which might not actually apply to the project that we're working on because of the changes that have been made. Now obviously light fixture counts are easy to look at, but then you look at controls and the effective wireless controls in a project. Yes, the equipment's a little more expensive, but now you don't have to run any cabling or wiring. You still have to do the commissioning and troubleshooting of it, but you're not running any cabling, so there's a lot of time and effort that come out of the project by having these wireless controls for lighting in the project. Just some of the things that I try to think about and understand, all sides of it. Obviously everyone's got a percentage. That's how a lot of things are based, not necessarily just a fee for a given project, but since everything was done by hand, and really we're still living in an hourly world even though we're on fixed fee contracts, it hasn't really adjusted to how we get paid and the percentages and things like that. But so I want to try to think of things outside the box to help building owners, save them money, to make projects go quicker and easier, and really to, at the end of the day, especially with things like lighting, those are energy users, so to reduce overall energy expenditure within a building. So a few thoughts on the day, and thanks for tuning in.